Bungie is one of the most influential studios in gaming history, but it's also one of the most polarizing. Few developers inspire the same mix of admiration, frustration, loyalty, and anger. That tension didn't appear overnight. It's the result of decades of success, evolving business models, and a community that deeply cares about what Bungie makes. As Bungie prepares to launch Marathon, that history matters. Players aren't judging Marathon in a vacuum. They're judging it through everything they've experienced with Halo, Destiny, and Bungie as a live service studio. To understand what Marathon needs to succeed, you first have to understand why players both praise and criticize Bungie so intensely. Let's go! Bungie's biggest advantage is also its biggest burden, its legacy. This is the studio that helped define console shooters with Halo and later redefine live service shooters with Destiny. Because of that, players expect Bungie to deliver polished gameplay, strong creative direction, and long-term support. When Bungie stumbles, the backlash is harder than it would be for a newer studio because players believe Bungie should know better. Marathon inherits this expectation problem. Players aren't just hoping Marathon is good, they expect it to feel like a Bungie game at its best. Anything less will feel like a failure, even if it's technically competent. The strongest and most consistent praise Bungie receives is for how its games feel. Destiny's gunplay, movement, and combat flow are often described as best in class. Weapons have weight and identity. Abilities feel powerful without completely overshadowing skill. Combat feels responsive, readable, and satisfying in a way few shooters can match. This is non-negotiable for Marathon. As an extraction shooter, Marathon will live or die by how tense, smooth, and rewarding its moment-to-moment gameplay feels. Bungie cannot afford a launch where the shooting feels fine instead of exceptional. If Marathon doesn't immediately feel better than its competitors, Bungie loses its big advantage. Bungie has long been praised for designing experiences that reward mastery. Destiny raids, dungeons, and endgame activity are some of the most respected cooperative challenges in gaming. They demand communication, learning, and execution without feeling arbitrary. This philosophy must carry into Marathon. Players need clear ways to improve, outplay opponents, and feel smarter or more skilled over time. Extraction shooters thrive on meaningful decisions and risk versus reward. If Marathon fails to reward skill and knowledge, it will feel shallow and disposable, no matter how polished it looks. Another reason players defend Bungie is its ability to build compelling worlds. Bungie excels at atmosphere, sound design, art direction, and music. Destiny's universe feels lived in and mysterious, even when the storytelling stumbles. Marathon must lean heavily into this strength. Its world needs a strong identity that separates it from Tarkov and Arc Raiders, and even other games that are not in the extraction shooter genre like Apex. Players should feel like they're entering a distinct universe with its own tone and mythology, not just another sci-fi extraction map. A strong identity gives players something to emotionally attach to, which is critical for long-term engagement, and honestly, Marathon has that. Alright, let's talk about why players criticize Bungie for a moment. The most persistent criticism of Bungie centers around monetization. Over time, Destiny layered expansions, seasons, dungeon keys, and cosmetic microtransactions in a way that many players feel nickel and dimed. Even when Bungie's monetization is comparable to other live service games, the perception of declining value has damaged the trust. Marathon cannot repeat this mistake. Bungie needs to clearly communicate what players are paying for, what updates are free, and what monetization will and won't affect gameplay. Cosmetic-only monetization must feel optional, tasteful, and fair. Any hint of pay-to-win or excessive FOMO will immediately reignite old resentments. The content vaulting in Destiny fundamentally changed how players view Bungie's promises. Removing paid content made players feel like their time and money weren't respected. That loss of trust still lingers. For Marathon, Bungie must be extremely careful about long-term commitments. Players need confidence that maps, modes, and progression systems won't disappear arbitrarily. Live service games rely on trust as much as content. Without it, players hesitate to invest their time, which directly impacts retention and word of mouth. Another recurring issue is Bungie's uneven support across player types. In Destiny, PvP players often felt neglected compared to PvE-focused development. Marathon cannot afford a similar imbalance. As a PvP-driven extraction shooter, Bungie needs to show consistent investment in balance, matchmaking, anti-cheat, and competitive systems. Long gaps without updates or communication will be interpreted not as growing pains, but as Bungie repeating old patterns. Bungie is known for frequent communication, but players often feel that communication doesn't always translate into action. Feedback is mostly acknowledged, but changes arrive slowly or not at all. For Marathon, Bungie needs to close that loop. When players give feedback during alphas, betas, and early seasons, Bungie must clearly show what changed as a result. Even small wins matter in this realm. Consistent follow-through rebuilds that credibility far more than a polished blog post. And as someone who's been in the creator program and has seen the progression of the game, I can tell you things feel different. Despite all of this, Bungie still has a large group of defenders. These players have seen other live service games collapse under worse monetization, weaker gameplay, or abandoned support. Compared to many of its competitors, Bungie still delivers stable servers, regular updates, and experiences that feel carefully crafted. Defenders believe Bungie's mistakes come from ambition and scale rather than indifference. Marathon does benefit from this remaining goodwill, but only if Bungie proves it deserves it. The lesson Bungie must apply to Marathon is simple, but it's going to be difficult. Excellence alone is no longer enough. Bungie already knows how to make a great feeling shooter. What players are watching for now is respect. Respect for time, for money, for feedback, and long-term investment. Marathon needs to launch polished, communicate clearly, monetize fairly, and evolve transparently. Bungie must show that it has learned from Destiny's missteps, not just refined its strengths. And obviously, this is going to be way easier said than done. Players praise Bungie because few studios can match its gameplay feel, its world building, and its high-end design. Players criticize Bungie because trust has been strained by monetization decisions, removed content, and inconsistent follow-through. Marathon sits at the crossroads of that relationship. If Bungie applies what it has learned, leaning into the strengths while actively avoiding its past mistakes, Marathon could redefine how players see Bungie as a live service developer. If it doesn't, Marathon won't just be criticized as a game, it will be seen as confirmation of everything players fear Bungie has become. And with the game launch only a couple of months away, we won't have to wait long to see how this turns out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will catch you on the next one.